Please introduce yourself and briefly summarize your education and professional background.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm Abhinoor Dhull, and I'm the Vice President of Operations at SewerAI. It's an AI and SaaS platform for infrastructure, underground infrastructure, and beyond. I am actually a civil engineer by training. I got my bachelor's degree from IIT Roorkee, which is one of the oldest civil engineering school in India. And since then, I worked in the field, literally underground, spent several years at Schlumberger in oil and gas, where I worked as a field engineer, project manager, and operations engineer, walking the field in my baggy overalls as the only female in 300 men across rigs in the middle of the ocean and in the deserts. And I think that really gave me a very deep appreciation of how infrastructure actually works on the ground level. But I really wanted to increase the breadth and depth of my experiences. So I came here to the US and studied my MBA in the Wharton School at UPenn and joined management consulting, where I consulted with several different industries. But I think the infrastructure just kept pulling me back. I felt like that's my calling. So when the opportunity came to join as the first non-founder executive for this, this company that was solving such an important challenge for the underground infrastructure and these unsung heroes for underground infrastructure. I just jumped on that opportunity, and here I am 3 years later.
All right, that's an impressive background, and I know our audience loves to hear from fellow engineers, so I'm sure they'll be paying particular attention. Can you now tell me a little bit about Sewer AI and what you do for the company? You mentioned the problem that it was trying to solve. What is that problem, and how is it going about trying to solve that problem?
SewerAI was actually founded in 2019 by my founders, Matthew Rosenthal and Billy Gilmartin, and they actually both come from wastewater industry. In fact, Billy has his own contractor firm that does CCTV inspections for different utilities and cities. And the biggest problem that we're really trying to solve here is that the CCTV inspections are needed to be done for all of the underground infrastructure. And it takes a really long time for those to happen because the CCTV inspections are done in a truck, and you basically go through the go through the truck, go into the pipes, and you frame into every little root, every hole that you see in the pipe, and write down which code it is from the NASCO handbook. And it basically takes a really long process to get any pipe coded. What SewerAI really started doing was they came up with our flagship product called AutoCode, where we asked all these people to just go in and just inspect the pipe, just take the videos and send those videos back to us. And we use our computer vision technology to actually code these pipes. And we have dedicated engineers who are in-house who validate these AI accuracies and send this information back to you. What we really saw happen was the entire process of inspecting the pipe and going into the field, the contractors were able to save about 66% of their time because all they had to do was just go in and take the video and send the information back in. But most importantly, the impact that we saw was at the office level, where the engineers didn't have to go in and look at hours and hours of video data to validate what they're getting from the contractors, but actually focus on what are the most important grade 4 and grade 5 errors and actually use this information to do what they do best, do capital planning, fix all the issues before they become bigger. And for me particularly, I really manage all things operations of the company. So I do everything from how we deliver the projects to scaling our team and working with our clients to do implementation and adoption. So I've really helped the team grow in the last 3 years, led our Series B last in 2024, and since then we've been doubling our revenue year over year.
Okay, that sounds great. So by now I've seen several varieties of kind of image machine learning and AI. I've seen them in, drones and satellite images to look at rooftops and things like that. How is the fact that this particular company's product is focused on sewer systems an advantage and makes it different from the other ones that are also AI looking at imagery?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we are actually a NASCO certified company. So, we follow the NASCO protocols, and that really makes us unique. The other reason we are also unique is in our AI alone, we also keep in mind that the human is really the most important piece of the puzzle, and we don't want people to look at AI input to only spend hours and hours to validate the information from the AI. So we actually keep the human in the loop and provide our customers a turnkey solution where they can pretty much have a report and then submit it, or take that report in and go ahead do their capital planning. What is also important to note is, although we did start as an AI company which looks at computer vision and imagery, the value that we actually found ourselves creating was our Pioneer platform. So we saw people came for the AI but stayed for the platform. We have this inspection management platform that actually allows all the contractors, engineers, and the utilities to collaborate and make sure that they don't have to spend weeks and months to get the deliverables, take this hard disk, put it into their computers, get the information, and then by the time you get to the risk rehabilitation planning, the data is already months old. So we've actually taken a step back, also introduced our risk and rehabilitation product, which actually takes this inspection data, layers in the GIS data. We are actually Esri partners, and provides you live risk and rehabilitation recommendations that you as engineers can review, change different criterias based on your decision trees, and get live reports that you can manage on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so let's stick with this the platform that I don't know as much about. Was this kind of developed from the very beginning, or as you were working on this system, is that like when you learned and you got feedback of, hey, this is really where we can find the value, and then kind of it came along after the initial kind of incorporation? Can you tell me a little bit about that history?
Yeah, absolutely. We did start as AutoCode, which were our computer vision AI services, but pretty much into the first year and a half, the feedback was very clear. For an industry that has been historically struggling with good technology and tools, getting the right data and ingesting that millions and billions of feet of data was the bigger problem. So we actually took a step back and made sure that we build a data management platform that is native cloud-based and is very easy to work with, so that users actually find joy working with the platform rather than break their heads in the process.
Okay, that's great. And also these users are also known for being kind of technology averse and kind of hard to talk into things, rather conservative. How do you go about getting them to try such a new technology, and do you have to like hold their hands and walk them through the process, or do the results kind of speak for themselves? How does that typically work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's honestly the most important challenge and the opportunity that the technology in this industry really faces. So when we started out, we were actually very pleasantly surprised with some of our early adopters. And the biggest signal that we got from the market was when we reached out with this technology to folks, like people were actually picking up our calls. That's really interesting because typically the biggest challenge for any company or any technological innovation is to get people's attention, and attention span is really limited. So the fact that people were actually picking up our calls and were intrigued tells you that this market has really been underserved for a pretty long time. So I think we got pretty good adopters right from the get-go. Some of our early customers were the city of Houston, some really good engineering firms, and even PG&E. And while we actually work through making sure that we're helping them along the way, it is not lost on us that for an industry that is risk averse, and as they should be, given they're managing the most important infrastructure in the country. The thing that we really felt we were able to get through was our incredible customer success team. So for an AI company in today's world, where Anthropic's latest report calls out that customer support and service is going to be the first thing that gets completely agentic, we are very proud to say that like our entire customer support and success team is humans. So we have less than 45-second response time, and we have dedicated professionals that onboard you. We provide unlimited trainings. We actually go out in the field and train people in their trucks, in their offices. And this is something that we all feel pretty passionate about because we have been there. Like I personally have been in the 110-degree heat in the middle of the desert trying to get my software to work. And you don't have the patience to talk to a bot or wait for hours to get your answer.
Okay, so you called this the most important infrastructure in the country. I believe you're talking about sewer systems. As an expert, can you give us a little bit of a background of what you consider the state of sewer systems in North America? Like, what are the major problems and how can they best be handled and improved?
I personally think that the underground infrastructure of the United States is probably the most underserved market today, given the technology that's available and the current state of the sewer systems and the stormwater infrastructure, underground infrastructure in general. It's pretty bad. The American Society of Civil Engineers has rated us D and D minus in our stormwater and sewer systems itself. And we every year we have thousands and hundreds of gallons and thousands and hundreds of billions of gallons of sewage, untreated sewage going into our lakes and our rivers. This is actually a very personal story for me because I have a friend who lives in the DC water area in the capital, and she used to take her family out every Sunday and spend a lot of time in the Potomac area and only in January we basically know that we had a major 72-inch sewer main which collapsed and dumped over 200 million gallons of raw untreated sewage. Obviously, it was a huge issue, and we called it the sewage crisis of historic proportion. We will fix this, and obviously the government is going to fix this in the next, I guess, 10 to 12 months. But my friends are never going back to that area, and their whole fishing experience as a family is lost for a very long time. So I think as a civil engineer and as someone who uses and appreciates the beauty that we have in our water system and our lakes, I think this one really hits home.
All right, thank you for sharing that. That's a nice little perspective. Just to clarify something for me, does sewer AI have any role in sewer system design, or is it focused completely on the inspection and the rehab and the maintenance?
So we are completely focused on inspection all the way to capital planning, and that's the scope of our focus. Our overall goal is to just drive extreme productivity for these superhumans who are actually the essential workers of this space, and we have just given ourselves to the commitment that we want to reduce the time from an inspection to capital planning from months to just a few days or even minutes. And that's the goal and the focus that we have been rallying around.
All right, that's what I thought, but thanks for clarifying that. So you also have a unique perspective that a lot of our audience doesn't understand. So could you tell us what it's like to be part of an infrastructure AI startup? And do you have a unique perspective coming from it as a civil engineer, not as a typical tech founder?
Yes, that's actually definitely a very surreal and rewarding moment for me. Honestly, every day I go to work, I feel extremely surreal and very, very grateful because I think this has given me the opportunity to really leverage my experience, my studies, and really apply those to the exact folks that that I saw myself, and I see myself even today, where I was 10 years ago. I think for myself, what really happens is, as someone who is constantly willing to learn new things and wanted to explore different ideas, I find it very exciting to go into a morning meeting where all we are talking about is our new advancements in our platform and our machine learning model, which is significantly reducing time for the person in the field. And literally 3 hours later, I'm talking to my customer in the field who's trying to get their field crew started, and the field supervisor is calling us rushed to understand like how to fix something in the field. And then lo and behold, we pretty much find out that they have some issues with their hardware and they probably plugged something incorrectly. So we pretty much help them solve through that as well, because I really feel like I come from a lot of empathy to the folks who are in the field, or that project manager who's getting those calls in the middle of the night to solve something. And most importantly, I think every day I wake up, I feel better knowing that we are able to let these folks and these unsung heroes like sleep peacefully, because we all know that. So, you know, we pretty much are brought in these conversations when something really bad happens, and we are constantly managing emergencies one after the other, and it takes like 5 times more. It is 5 times more expensive for us as civil engineers to go get budget for something that needs to be fixed, and things are already pretty bad, versus proactively taking care of the whole system underground that we look at and we value on a day-to-day basis. So it's pretty surreal to continue growing my AI and my tech skill set while leveraging my personal experience of putting this person at the helm.
Oh, that's great. That's pretty magical when you can actually really enjoy your job as much as you seem to do. That's really nice. I don't know exactly how many engineers are out there trying to consider a startup path, but for those that may be, could you perhaps give some advice on how they can go about, their own little startup journey? What should they focus on, and maybe what not to be distracted by that they think is important, and maybe what surprised you about this kind of this the startup path for now?
I was surprised by how us as civil engineers are probably way more critical to being at the helm of finding these innovations and actually working through these innovation, because I think, for me personally, I never thought, as a civil engineer 15 years ago, that I would ever be in a technology startup. Like I thought I would be enjoying being, a geotechnical engineer or building dams in my CAD drawings. What really surprised me was that I we are actually the ones who are living this day to day, and nobody truly understands this problem as well as we do. So with the current state of AI and all the opportunities that are available to us, I think the opportunity to reinvent yourself and solve this problem that you face on a day-to-day basis has become much easier than it was 10, 15 years ago. So I think my advice to anybody who is a civil engineer who is curious, about the startup path is exactly that. Like, be curious. The problems you're facing, are the problems worth solving, rather than going after the next shiny toy and the next shiny technology. I think the companies that are really going to survive and thrive in this age of exponential change with AI in the last few years that we have seen are the ones that are solving real problems for us. And who better to solve these problems than the ones who are living them on the day-to-day basis?
Oh, that's great. I think that sounds very helpful. So for advice for those who maybe are not considering or don't want anything to do with a startup path, maybe some general advice for engineers that are in the sewer industry. What maybe should they be looking at as far as using technology or even management practices to help them better do their jobs, and some insight that you've learned for just the civil engineers in the sewer industry.
I think for us as civil engineers, we are definitely at the helm of advancing this industry as a whole. The proof of concept phase has been long over. There have been case studies, there have been technical papers that prove that the accuracy of the AI and the productivity gains from such platforms is absolutely real. And it is time for us to take matters into our own hands and be the champions of finding these new technologies, trying them out, taking them to our bosses, and really being the ones who are driving meaningful change in every place that we are working. So I think if there was one thing I could say is it is time to take matters into our own hands, because there's a very real cost of waiting, and it's no longer an option.
Is there anything along these lines that you feel like that we didn't talk about that you'd like to add in before I stop recording?
I really appreciate the opportunity of speaking to you, and I'm very grateful that there could be more civil engineers out there who are curious about technology, and feel that they're pigeonholed, and I think I feel very grateful that we can give those folks an opportunity to not be afraid to reinvent themselves.